Resuming debate, the Honourable Member for Elgin, St. Thomas, London South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's a great honour to rise and speak to Bill C-218. In less than a week, it will be 15 years since I almost lost my life to suicide. I overdosed. I was in the hospital for 7 weeks. For much of it, I was on life support and had to be resuscitated multiple times. Over Christmas, my parents didn't know if they would have me as their son moving forward. It was the culmination in a very dark time in my life that spanned many years. A time in which I felt, at multiple times, not as seriously as I did that horribly dark and sad December day in 2010, that I would be better off dead than alive. I am so proud to be standing here in this chamber for many reasons. But one of them is knowing where I've been and where I came from. And the fact that there was a time in my life where I never would have in a million years believed that I could ever have the life I have now. A career that I'm proud of, an amazing wife whom I love so dearly, these tremendous colleagues and friends I work with every day, this trust that has been placed in me by the people I represent. None of that would have been possible had I been successful when I attempted to end my life. And I think of my own experience and the many others like it, when I reflect on the fact that in just 15 months' time, someone who was in the place that I was in 15 years ago would be able to have not only the state's permission, but the state's help to end their life by suicide. In March of 2027, the criteria for medical assistance in dying are expanding, so someone with only a mental illness, with no physical ailment whatsoever, will be eligible for MAID. This is a profound expansion and a fundamental inversion of the message that we have spent so much money and so much airtime and so much effort and energy telling Canadians for years. Through countless campaigns and aimed at ending the stigma surrounding suicide, from more programming and funding and resources to support people with mental illness, through campaigns telling people that you are better off alive, that you do have a future. Efforts that we all extend in our own lives to those around us to give messages of hope to those who need it. And to put a fine point on this, to make it personal, because it is personal. If the laws that were coming into force in 15 months were there 15 years ago, I would probably be dead right now. And I say that with full gratitude that I'm not. I did not want to extend a cry for help. I actually had access to resources and treatment. I had a support system. I had a family who loved me. I had these privileges that so many others who struggle with mental illness did not have. And even with all of those available to me, I felt like there was no future. The proverbial light at the end of the tunnel did not exist. I did not want to get better. It wasn't that I hadn't tried enough, clearly. But I felt like I had done my time. I felt like I had put in enough effort to try to get better, and when I didn't, I had made my decision that I was going to end it. It wasn't impulsive. It was quite rational, actually. I decided it weeks out. Believe it or not, as silly as it sounds, I had it on my calendar. And I scheduled the day because I had appointments and meetings before it that I didn't want to miss. As though that makes any sense at all, as though it would matter if I missed a meeting, given that I was planning on not sticking around. But this is how, when you are struggling with mental illness, as I was, so very seriously, it plays tricks on you. By design, a mental illness is a distortion of your ability to see clearly and think clearly about what you're in the midst of. It clouds your judgment. Now, if I had ever gone to a healthcare worker and said, I am planning to end my life, they would have not just a moral, but a legal obligation to stop me. They would have legal authority to detain me, because that is how sacrosanct we take it, that you have a right to recover, that you have a right to live, and that medical practitioners must do no harm and protect you from harming yourself. We have a duty to help people.
Doesn't want to hear it.
And when I talk about my own story, I have heard so many others like it. After my colleague from Cloverdale Langley City introduced her bill, I launched the I Got Better campaign, in which I shared my testimony and invited Canadians to share their own. And I'd like to share some of those in the House today. A lawyer from here in Ottawa said, quote, "I wonder if I would have used MAID if it were available when I was in my darkest days, or if I have dark days yet to come." Another man reached out and says he struggles with personal family issues and mental illness. He has very bad days. He has tried attempting suicide before, and he is worried that he will not be stopped in the future if he has more of those dark days and MAID is available to him. On a more positive note, a woman who was in an abusive relationship for 22 years and wanted to die said, quote, "If MAID had been around then, I would not be here now, and I am, pardon the unparliamentary language, damn happy it was not. I'm happy now. I have had a fantastic career caring for seniors. I have grandbabies and kids I love. I have a wonderful husband now who means the world to me." Another woman who said she wanted to end her life many times, but looking back, she is so happy she has a life now where she is happier than she ever was before. And I'll share one more. A woman who says, quote, 2 years of agony, damage to my liver, hospitalizations, dozens of failed medications, a compilation of diagnoses without any real clarity, but I was given a second chance. She says she was labeled chronically unstable, told she had a poor prognosis and was unable to thrive independently and likely will revolve through the system for the rest of her life. She attempted suicide several times. One doctor wouldn't give up on her. As she says, recovery takes one person, not one pill. One person who believes in you and forces uncomfortable treatment onto you for the sake of your future life that's awaiting you. That woman went to university, became a social worker to help others, and is happily married, and more importantly, is happy. None of these stories could ever be guaranteed were we to do what the government is doing in 15 months, to license giving up on people at their most vulnerable moments, at their darkest and lowest points. 90% of suicides come from people who have diagnosable mental illness. Physicians have testified before this very Parliament and its committees that suicide is often contemplated and planned over a long period of time by people who would very easily, as I am confident I would, have gone to a doctor and made a rational, logical case why they have tried all of this treatment. They believe that they are better off dead than alive. There was a consensus among psychiatric experts who have testified and spoken about this elsewhere that there is no clear way to separate suicidal ideation as a symptom from a request of a healthcare practitioner to have their help ending your life. Dr. John Marr testified before Parliament that 7% of those who attempt suicide die by suicide. 7%. Which means that there are 93% of people that at one or multiple points want to end their life, but eventually get over that. The success rate of MAID is 100%. By design, this is a policy that will give up on people. There are very few things in this chamber that we can say are genuinely life and death issues. This is one of them. We already saw a few weeks ago that in 2024, MAID accounted for 5.1% of the deaths in Canada. That is a 1,520% increase over 2016 when it became legal. We are seeing now a massive expansion to people who, in the vast majority of cases, will get better. 50 to 60% of people with mental illness will actually recover with no treatment. Even more for people who do have treatment available. I would not be here today had I been successful. I would not be here today had I not gotten over the darkest, worst feelings of my life that anyone could encounter. And that is something that I believe needs to be understood by those who believe this is an abstract question of legal theory and legal rights. These are real people. There are faces to this. If C-218 does not pass, people will die. And we have a right and a duty to stand up for those who need it. I will be proudly supporting this bill, and I thank so much my colleague for introducing it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.